It was naive, Mark.
I've seen more aggressive kisses in the valleys. So,
Captain's Pick, the FPL Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of Captain's Pick, the FPL Podcast. I'm your host, Geoff at Geoff Willis, and each week I'll be talking fantasy Premier League football. You can now find the podcast on iTunes, just search Captain's Pick. We also feature on the YouTube channel, FPL Podcasts, and remember to like, subscribe, and share the podcast to all your friends. Now, on today's show, joining me from Bristol is another long-time friend and mini-league rival, Mr. Marc Persil Downey. Welcome to the show.
thank you very much, Mr. Willis. How are we doing?
I'm good, thank you, mate. Glad you're on the show. Be good to hear some of your insights and maybe a little rant from last night's Man United result.
Yes, as a long-term Man United fan, it's not the best place to be at the moment, but I'm sure we'll get there.
We will indeed. Before we start, we're going to have a little look into your history of FPL, Mark. And I'm just looking at your stats now. Been playing the game since 13-14, which I think is the same as me. And looks like your best finish was that season, actually, when you got up to 114,000.
Wow, rookie.
Yeah.
Must have had probably watched a lot more football then, and a bit more time on my hands. So.
Yeah. I think so. And then your best next finish was 2 seasons ago, where it was 115,000. So pretty decent stats there.
Yeah, I think it's quite consistent over the years. So
you're certainly doing better than
steady
me.
Eddie.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think I was looking back at my results, and the best I've ever done was 155,000. So my aim this year is certainly to be in the top 100,000.
It's a good aim. It's tough, isn't it? How many are doing it this year? Do we know?
Yeah, I think the figure's
over 5.
It's near 5.5 million. So I think top 100,000 is pretty decent.
Yeah, definitely. That's it's a good goal to have, Geoff.
Yeah, I'm currently in the top 75,000, so on course.
Do you tend to be a quick starter in this game? I'm normally a slow starter myself.
I'm normally very slow and chucking points left, right and centre, wild cards, all sorts. But I'm trying to be a bit more disciplined this season.
It's working well.
It's not going bad too far. Okay, so on today's show, we're just going to have a look back at Gameweek 3's fixtures. Little look at our squads, points, and team positions, and then we'll have a little look at squad management and half an eye on any transfers we may make. Okay, so starting off the fixtures, the results I should say from last weekend. First place to start is that 1-1 draw, Man City at Wolves, Laporte getting the Man City goal, Gundogan getting the assists. Apologies for my pronunciation there.
He's Italian, right?
Apologies to Mitrovic from last week's. He was Serbian. Rob picked that. I clearly didn't. And Mendy getting some bonus points. Did you have any players in that match, Mark?
Yes. So 3 Man City. I think you've always got to stack up with Man City. They're just so many points. Although this week they didn't get that many points. They're sort of big scorers. So myself, Mendy. Even though he didn't get the clean sheets, as you said, bonus points were very welcome. Bernardo Silva had quite a quiet game. I think Wolves played really well, actually. They're good on the ball, and they took it to City, which a lot of teams did last year, so they don't really know how to react when teams attack them and chase them down. I think their centre-backs, you can get at them. Hopefully more teams will do that, take some points off them. And then Aguero, who was my vice-captain, thankfully not my captain.
Blank there, yeah.
Yeah, just a blank, so 2 points for him. I do have two Wolves players. They were benched just because they were playing City, but Neves came in for 2 points because Lascelles was injured. So, yeah, a lot going on for me in that game, but not a lot of points in the end.
Yeah. I mean, City looked good. I think Wolves, as you say, attacked him, which I think you certainly when City are away from home, I think you've got to try and maybe at City, that's when you go a bit more defensive. But
dangerous game at the Etihad.
Yeah, very much so. In this game, I think we got the three: Mendy, Bernardo Silva, and Aguero. Mendy picking up some good points there. I think Aguero hit the bar a couple of times, hit the post, hit the bar. So he's definitely still in form. So not too worried about that.
Yeah, definitely will be getting some points next week, I think.
Yeah, I would have thought so. Next up, we've got Arsenal 3-1 at home to West Ham. I didn't have any players playing in this, actually. What about yourself, Mark?
No, I've got Jack Wilshere on my bench. He may be demoted to further away than that.
I was going to say, it might be the best place for him.
Yeah, exactly. I think I took a punt on him early in the season. I thought, he's going to get a run of games. He's fit. So potentially could get some bonus points and pick up the odd assist. But that has not worked out. So, yeah, and going back to Arsenal, point to prove. But even though, sort of looking at the highlights, West Ham played well first half. They look shocking at the back. So he's always going to struggle if he's getting overrun in midfield. So, yeah, good for Arsenal. Win on the board. I stayed away from their players just because new manager, you never know what's going to go on. So I feel it's always risky. So yeah, just Jack Wilshere on my bench, and he will probably be further away next week.
Okay, yeah. In terms of Arsenal, it's quite tricky. They've got a good set of fixtures coming up, but it's just who you pick out of them. Obviously, Aubameyang blanked in all three games so far this season, but I think he's a quality player. He certainly showed it last season, and with this run of fixtures, I think if he can just get one, I think he could explode in the next few games.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I dabbled at the start of the season. I was looking at Arsenal, and he was the one I thought potentially could come in, but I kept it safe and went Firmino and Aguero were my sort of bigger money up front, and then there was no room for Aubameyang. But yeah, I think, as you said, if he can get off the mark, then he could go on a roll. And now Arsenal have won a game, they might go on a little roll themselves. So could potentially come in for some people next week.
Yeah, I mean, certainly last week I was looking at Mkhitaryan. Glad I didn't bring him in because he blanked. Got half an eye on Arnautovic, but I think he's down a 75% chance of playing. They've still got some tricky fixtures ahead in the next 4 or 5 game weeks, but after that, I think he may be a replacement for Zaha when the Palace fixtures change and get really hard.
Yeah, Arnautovic, he was in my team quite a lot last season, and again, I looked at him at the start of this season, but just wasn't. Yeah, for some reason, he didn't get in, and yeah, he hasn't really done enough yet. He's got the one goal, but yeah, I think, as you said, West Ham just not sure what's happening there. You would have thought with Pellegrini coming in and the squad they've spent money, that they would have done something. But yeah, very disappointing for Hammers fans at the moment.
Yeah, I think you're right there. Okay, so moving on to the Bournemouth-Everton match, 2-2. Goals coming from Keane and Walcott for Everton, Aki and King for Bournemouth. And of course, Richarlison, red card, which I was not best pleased with. Put him in at the start of the season as a bit of a punt, as I said last week on the pod. Started great, and his value was shooting up, and then just got a red card, and just has killed my team a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a big miss, isn't it? I think you're not alone there. A lot of fans, people have put him in and have regretted it now. But it's a bit unlucky. It was the worst headbutt in the world to get sent off for.
It was naive, Mark.
I've seen more aggressive kisses in the valleys, so yeah, I don't think there was too much in it. But as you said, naive is the correct word there, Vils.
Yeah.
But great game. Everton going 2 up and then Bournemouth coming back. Myself, I had Daniels at the back for Bournemouth.
Yeah, me
but
too.
Just the 1 point. Again, he's in as my cheaper defender. I will be looking at my defence this weekend, definitely. And I think a guy you mentioned on the podcast last week, Walcott, got a goal, so he's started the season well. I think Everton, what they got next week? They are home to Huddersfield, so
yeah, the next 4 or 5 fixtures for them look really good.
So there's potential there, definitely. Even without Richarlison, they've got quite a lot of options at the moment.
We may just, once we've looked at the rest of the results, we'll come back to Richarlison and have a look at a couple of replacement options, and I can let you know what I've already done at midnight on Saturday night, which it's not as interesting as it sounds, but we'll get into that, I'm sure. I also had Jordan Pickford in that match. Again, no clean sheets. First 3 games, no clean sheets, but I say next 2 fixtures at home to Huddersfield and Southampton, I think. So I'm looking to keep him in the team at least for another couple of games to get some clean sheets.
Definitely. He's
Next game, Huddersfield 0-0 with Cardiff. Not much to say, I don't think. I had none of these players.
No, myself the same. I think might be worth looking at a Cardiff defender or keeper because they just shut up shop, and I think they're looking for, if they can get 38 draws, keep them up. 38 0-0s.
I think you're right, because they've got nothing up front. They're not scoring any goals.
No goals in 3 games. Yeah, they lost the first game, didn't they? Then 2 0-0s following that. So yeah, they don't have much of a forward line, which is a shame. So sort of Neil Warnock's just got to make them hard to beat. And yeah, I suppose he's got some points on the board. And yeah, if he could get a win, yeah, it'd be nice for them to have a bit of fun in the season rather than their fans being in the Premiership but not seeing a goal.
Yeah. Oh, no, I agree with that. And, I mean, they've conceded less than Man United, so it's pretty...
So have a lot of teams.
We'll come on to that. Okay, so next game, Leicester beating Southampton 2-1. I had Ryan Bertrand in this game, who scored an absolute belter. So
you've done well with defenders scoring, haven't you?
Yeah. Last week I had Tarkowski scored. Unfortunately, I transferred him out in this game week for Trent Alexander-Arnold, and called Tarkowski scored again. But they did end up on the same points. So I didn't lose or gain points, but I did lose. I did lose a transfer, but these things happen.
Yeah, long run, good move, I think.
Yeah, I think so. But I didn't have any other players from this. Did you have any players in this game?
No, again, stayed away from Leicester and Southampton. I don't. They're not looking great. So for me, I thought they'd get something out of this with Vardy suspended, but they managed to go 1-0 up and still lose. And yeah, I think Claude Puel's got quite a good record since being sacked, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's beaten them every time, I think. So yeah. Okay. Well done, Claude.
Indeed. So the next game, Liverpool beating Brighton 1-0. My man Salah, my captain, got the goal, which I was pleased with. Alexander-Arnold got a yellow card, so that was a little bit annoying, but obviously got the clean sheet for me. So yeah, happy with Salah. Right captain call again for me. I think that's a couple of weeks running. I've called that, which is good. What players have you got from this?
Same here with Salah captain. Give him the punt over Aguero. So it was nice for him to get a goal. Firmino up front got the assist.
Yeah.
And Alexander-Arnold clean sheet, as you said, lost a point for the booking. Salah's sort of kept his run going from last year, unlike what some other fantasy football players in our league think. And Firmino, he's he's not quite scoring at the moment, but he's always involved. I think he might have 2 assists already.
Yeah.
I did think Liverpool would win by about 3, so it was a bit disappointing on a Fant's side that they didn't. But Brighton sort of sat in and kept it tight. They played a bit differently to how they did against United last week, because they knew the Liverpool are much better opposition and they're harder to get at. So they sort of tucked in, and they did have chances at the end. But yeah, again, good result for Liverpool and good points. I got sort of 26 points out of that game with my 3 players. So yeah, that was a game of the week for my fantasy team, definitely.
A decent haul. Any thoughts on maybe getting rid of Firmino or just keeping an eye on him?
I'm more concerned with my defence at the moment and goalkeeper, which we'll come to. I think with Firmino, they've Liverpool next week. They've got Spurs in 2 weeks' time, but they've got Leicester next week, and Leicester league goals. I can see that being maybe 3-1 to Liverpool and him getting involved again. So he'll be in for next week, and then the following week I'll look at potentially. We'll see how he's doing then, because for his price, he's doing okay. If we'll get onto the United game, and there's other strikers there that could potentially come in.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me at the moment, my forward line is okay, doing me a good job.
I think the only person, Robertson, obviously he's having a stormer start of the season. I had him in my team along with Alonso pre-game week 1, but couldn't fit them both in. Well, I didn't fit either in. With Alexander-Arnold, 1 million, 1.1 million less.
That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah. You've got to go that way, because you're going to get the clean sheets. He does take the odd free kick as well. Yeah. I know Robertson is getting a lot of bonus points because he puts the miles in, that boy. He doesn't stop running.
Yeah.
He's always in support, so he'll get assists. But yeah, I'm with you. I can't justify that extra 1.1 when I know if Liverpool keep a clean sheet, 9 out of 10 they're going to get the same point. So
no, I think he's a good option, and Liverpool's fixtures do turn a little bit, so the attacking points that Robertson gets may get less, and so think they may be a little bit more on par. The next game, Watford winning 2-1 against Palace. Obviously, I had Zaha in this game, who got me a goal, which I was happy about because it didn't look like I was going to get anything from this game. Little bit unlucky, Palace. I think they had a few chances, but Watford looked really decent, to be fair.
Yeah, I think they seem to always start well. Every season they sort of, in the top 4 till about end of November, and then they sort of think they're safe, and then they're all on holiday mode by Christmas, so they're just in free fall. So it is a strange one for Watford, is whether they can, for a season, just keep that intensity. I'm not sure whether it's just because the squad is small, so they get a little bit fatigued trying to play at that intensity, but they're always quick out the blocks. In terms of players, I had none there, but I need to look at Watford's fixtures, because I might even check. I need a cheaper defender to get a more expensive defender in. So I might even look at old Hollebass.
Yeah.
Ain't no Hollebass, girl. Get him in, potentially. He's scoring well.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just something where, he's probably good for maybe a month. I need to check their fixtures. And then going from there, it could be a case of getting rid. But yeah, as a cheaper defender option, I think he's 4.5, 4.6 at the moment. So he's potentially one to watch for me in terms of that cheaper defender, because my defence hasn't got me a lot of points this season so far.
He's on the watch list. Yeah, similar with me. With Crystal Palace, obviously I've got Wan-Bissaka as well, but who was suspended for that game. He'll come back in, and Palace's next 5 games, Zaha, I'm looking at, he's got to be getting me at least a goal a game in the next 5 games to try and stay in the team. Yeah, it's pressure. It's pressure. So I've put the pressure on him.
Wilf. I don't know if he can handle that. That's why he left United. Pressure was too much for him.
I did tweet him after the game, say well done for getting me the goal, but I'll be waiting for the tweet back.
I'm sure he appreciated it.
I'm sure he did. Okay, so moving on to Fulham's home game against Burnley. Fulham winning 4-2. Mitrovic getting 2 goals and an assist. And that just made your weekend, didn't it?
It did. I've been waiting for this guy to come good.
The Serb,
yeah,
the big Serb.
The big Serb with no Italian heritage. He's, tricky start for him with that away game at Spurs, but he scored then, and I benched him that week. But yeah, I saw this game and thought Burnley being away in Europe, big chance for Fulham to win. They played some good football last year, and I think they're going to be tough to beat at the Cottage. And yeah, Mitrovic, I'm surprised Newcastle sold him. I was surprised. He must have fallen out with Benitez, because I've watched him for Serbia against Wales a few times, because they were in a qualifying group, and he's just a handful, and he's always in the box. He's one of those players you just don't want to play against. So yeah, a brace and an assist and the 3 bonus points. Oh, living the dream.
Yeah, that was a great shout from you with him there. I'd certainly predicted that Burnley were going to ship goals. I said on the pod last week that was the reason for shipping out Tarkowski, because I thought away at Europe they're just definitely going to concede, and obviously conceded 4. Obviously you got the goal, but you can't always legislate for that. But I was quite pleased with predicting that.
Yeah, well done. I think, as you said, with Burnley being in Europe, they just this early in the season they just don't have the ability to and the squad to cope with that. They work so hard as well. That's their philosophy, because there's not too many ball players there, so they have to graft. And when you've got to do twice the amount of work, that's tricky. So it sounds strange, but the quicker they're out of Europe, the better, really, because they could end up struggling if they don't get a win under their belt soon.
Yeah, I think that would be a concern for Sean Dyche, but we'll see on Thursday night if they qualify or not. Okay, and moving on to my team Chelsea, who I predicted on last week's pod would win 2-1, and Hazard coming back for his first 90 minutes, getting the penalty. Alonso with 2 assists, who's absolutely trolling me at the moment for not having him. And Alonso getting 3 bonus points as well. You don't have Alonso either, do you?
Again, I put him in before we started, but again, new manager, so I tend to stay away from teams with a new manager for at least a month, so I can get an idea of what they're trying to do. But Alonso is now on the watch list for next week, because, as you said, he's just, he was in my team a lot last year. Free kicks, assists, goes forward, and Chelsea are looking, they've got that bit of grit again, which is how they've won leagues before. They're just not giving up. And yeah, they've got a favourable fixture next week on to Bournemouth. And then I think they want the Cardiff as well, so it's definitely the time, if you don't have one, to put a Chelsea defender in, and this guy's everywhere at the moment, so yeah, he could be the one.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to see if I can squeeze him in my team, but I think he's had another price rise, so he's up to 6.7 million. So yeah, I'm just really struggling. I think, as I said last week, I'd missed the Mane train, and I think I've missed the Alonso yacht, as I think I'm calling it. I think he's too rich, and I'll damage the rest of my team trying to get him in. I think I'll just have to be happy and content with Benjamin Mendy and Alexander Arnold, and just hopefully I can ride it out and not have Alonso, not for a few weeks anyways, maybe at an international break if I wild card, then I can maybe try and bring him in, but I'm just not sure it's going to happen this season.
Yeah, he is quite expensive, but he just always seems involved. He seems to be more of a winger than a full-back at times, and yeah, although, saying that, Chelsea have shipped a few goals as well.
Yeah.
Because 2 against Arsenal and then 1 against Newcastle, so he's not getting many clean sheets, but he doesn't need to if he's scoring and assisting. You know, he's one of the top scoring defenders this season at the moment. So in terms of fans points, and yeah, he's close to my team. I need to have a little look at it and see if I can get him in without shifting anyone else. I do have 2.9 million to play with, which is always nice.
That is lovely.
Yeah, not messing around, Gulp.
Yeah, I think it's just gonna kill me for a while, that not having Alonso, but I'll just have to grin and bear it, I think.
There's not many with him in our league, is there?
No, there's not actually.
I think John Beach has him.
Yeah, I believe he has. And he certainly had a decent points haul and moved up a little bit further in our mini league. So
maybe the time has come to pass that wooden spoon to someone else.
The time may. I think we might have to invest in a wooden spoon. I'm not sure it's actually. It might be in the back of your car with the infamous trophy and Whaley boots.
The trophy is there, even when I had to drag a PA system across Bristol for the wedding. The trophy was kept safe by putting it in a boxing glove that was also in my boot, so it could survive the cargo.
Your boot's like Mary Poppins' bag. There's tons of things in there.
Yeah.
And then finally, last night's match, Monday Night Football.
Monday night.
United losing 3-0 to the Spurs. Lucas Moura getting 2 goals. Harry Kane getting a goal. Assists from Kane, Eriksen and Trippier. I had Kane in this match, who obviously got me a decent points haul with a couple of bonus points and totally saved my game week. So I was pretty pleased last night, but I should imagine you were not, Mark, being a United fan.
Well, yeah, being a United fan and not having Harry Kane and my 2 closest rivals having him was a double whammy. And it's a funny one because at half time I was reasonably pleased with how United were playing. It was a bit of intensity. We had more of the ball than Spurs. Just Lukaku is not very good at the moment. He seems as if he's still on holiday. And yeah, then it's just the centre halves. We've got, I don't know, possibly, I think I rate Bailly as a player. I do think you need some support there, but the other 3, they're just a bunch of clowns. So he's even chucked Herrera in. There was practice being centre half for a week and then put him against Harry Kane. Brilliant. So even though we somehow got away with it first half, as soon as we conceded, it was just a case of, it was just too easy for Spurs. They didn't have to play too well. Lucas Moura has sort of been, he's been a bit of a revelation for Spurs this year because everyone was saying they need to sign a striker and support for Kane, and they already had it. And Son is still around as well. So Spurs, even though they did no business, they've got a squad that's developing. So they'll definitely be pushing Liverpool and City for the league. I think that would be the top 3.
Yeah, I think you're right there. They look really decent last night. A little bit dodgy at the back, I think, at times, but I think if Alderweireld stays there, him and Vertonghen are a great centre back partnership, and I think if Toby gets his head down and just gets on with it, I think they could have a great season.
Yeah, with Poch, I think he manages the team well. He rotates the people that need it, especially the full-backs, and that's why it's tough to get Spurs full-backs in your team. Even though Trippier, again, he was in my team at the start, but I thought, is he going to rotate? So I stayed away. So for me, the only player I had was David De Gea, who got me a lot of points last season. And looking at United's start this year, would have presumed home to Leicester, away to Brighton, not letting too many in, but that's 7-3. And the worst thing in Fant is when your keeper's made 2 saves. It's like, just one more save for a point. And De Gea even made 2 saves against Spurs. So yeah, he's expensive. So I could even be switching to the other keeper in that game.
Oh, really? Loris?
Yeah. So we could drink to that.
Quick intersection here. Just doing the edit and just got the joke from Mark, which I totally blanked on during the recording. Good one, mate. Yeah, I think I just wouldn't touch any United players at the moment, just to see if maybe they'll settle down. Jose will get them playing, and they'll be back up at the top of the league, sort of, come Christmas. But I don't know. I'm not sure. Jose will even be there by Christmas.
It's tricky. Yeah, five good fixtures in a row. I think the one good thing, Luke Shaw's playing really well.
Yeah, that's really
now
good.
Valencia's in. You're happy with those full-backs. It's just that the centre halves have zero confidence, and now teams know that they smell blood, and they will just go at it like Brighton did. Spurs didn't even have to go at it. They just
exactly.
pass the ball to the middle and job done, or people can't mark at a corner. So we're just too soft in the middle, which is worrying. So yeah, we shall see.
Indeed. Okay, so that was the game week 3 results. I'm just gonna look up the what I got overall. So in this game week I got 52 points. And that put me on overall points of 225, which gave me an overall rank of 78,716, which was about a 10,000 place rise from last week. So pretty pleased with that, because it wasn't a massive total, but keeping inside that 100,000, which was really decent for me. And then just looking at your points, Mark, you got 56.
Yeah, good week, and a low-scoring week, generally.
Yeah, and your overall overall points was 215. So I got about 10 points on you there, with overall rank of 164,000. But say that's only 10 points difference.
10 points and almost double
nearly
where you are. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. It's I think it's just a little bit like that in the first sort of 4 to 6 weeks of FPL, and then it sorts to sort of sort itself out a bit, and don't think the jumps are as much. So, and then in our mini league that we are both in, the Chomps, I'll just have a little rundown of what it's looking like. I'm at the top, and we've got Rob, who's on the pod last week, just behind me, 3 points low on 222, and yourself in third place on 215. So pretty tight top 3 there.
Yeah, it was literally that Harry Kane goal is the 10 points.
It was
Harry Kane game. So I was looking good until he popped up.
I will shout out Mr. Jeremy Phillips, team name Pizza Cat, because he was top point scorer for the game week on 62. He was finished total 194 because he had Harry Kane as captain, so an inspired choice from the Pizza King.
Very good. He's catching the top 3.
He is, yeah. He's not too far behind actually, so it's a bit of a top 4 there. Okay, I thought we would just move on to a little bit of squad management and a little look at what we might do in game week 4. As I said earlier, Richarlison, I've made the move. I made it on Saturday night. He's gone. Cut him loose, and much too many people surprised if they listened to the pod last week where I said I'd never touch Theo Walcott again. He's straight in the team, and the 2 big reasons really was I wanted to keep value. So Richarlison has already dropped, I think, 0.1. And Theo Walcott has jumped up 0.2 million already. So I've made money on the transfer. And the reason why I had Richarlison in really was because of the Everton fixtures. And for the next 4 or 5 fixtures, they still look really decent. So I wanted an attacking player from Everton in my team. And Theo Walcott was about the same price, in good form at the moment. So it just seemed like a bit of a no-brainer.
It's a good move, as you said. The fixtures are favourable. He's on form, and he does have these patches. Theo Walcott, he does tend to be good for 5-6 games, and then goes missing for a month, unfortunately. So if you can get him while he's hot, that's great. Myself, I do have 2 transfers available and 2.9 mil in the bank.
Decisions.
Yeah, so I'm happy generally with a lot of my team. I think it's the goalkeeping situation and my third choice defender. I'm happy with Mendy and Alexander-Arnold. So it's a case of potentially getting a new keeper and a defender. We've already mentioned potentially Alonso.
Yep.
I just need to look at his price. I know he is quite expensive. What's he at the moment? He's
6.7. So potentially a straight swap for Daniels there, maybe, or Lascelles.
Yeah, because he's injured, Lascelles. So, or I could just bring Hollebass in for Lascelles and have even more money.
Yep.
Get my keeper, and then I've got almost 3 and a bit in the bank for the following week if I'm looking to get rid of Firmino, because they have Spurs as well. So it's a case of potentially a big striker, or do I keep that money for a third big midfielder? Because I've got Salah. Bernardo Silva, I'll class as that because he's starting for City, who are playing really well.
Yeah.
So there's options. I'm really unsure on the keeping front at the moment. I need to look at the fixtures. I was looking at Lloris, but Spurs away to Watford and then Liverpool. Tough to keep clean sheets in those games.
Yeah.
So it may be looking elsewhere. So even Pickford might be a shout because Everton's got some good fixtures, but De Gea will probably go because he's playing behind some clowns.
Yeah.
So he's got no chance.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a no-brainer for sure. In terms of other ideas, I've flirted with taking a wild card this week, or even maybe taking a points hit to possibly try and get Alonso in, or maybe Pedro in, because I do think Bernardo Silva, although great fixture and in a great Man City team, I just got a gut instinct that he's going to be rested for this game or come on with like 10 minutes to go. So it's just whether it's worth the points hit. I don't know.
It's always tricky because initially when I put Bernardo Silva in, I didn't have him in game week 1. I had Sanchez actually. But just because I thought he was on pens, then United got a pen and Pogba took it, so I took him out. And I was 0.1 off Sterling.
Right.
So initially I wanted Sterling. I couldn't afford him, but I definitely wanted a City midfielder. And because of De Bruyne again injured, Bernardo Silva came in. But yeah, you tend to think I need a City midfielder, but it's which one? Because as you said, he's got so many to pick from now.
It's the Pep roulette.
Yeah, because at the start of the season I almost put Sane in, but he's been woeful.
Yeah,
he was awful when he came on the other day. So yeah, it's tricky. I think that the important thing in fantasy is picking players that play.
Yeah,
you can't afford to spend a lot of money on a player like Mahrez, who's not going to get a game, and Sane, who can't get in the team. It's too difficult. Whereas Aguero is going to play, Mendy's going to play. For Liverpool, Salah and Firmino will play. So you've got those bankers, and then it's sometimes a bit of a risk, especially with the bigger teams. So we'll see. I would like to get a Chelsea. I've got Jorginho in there,
right,
but he's cheap. He's cheap and takes over. Again, he's looking at Pedro. I've been looking at Hazard, but he's too expensive. So I'm not ready for my wild card yet, though, Jeff.
No, keeping it in your back pocket.
Yeah, I'll leave you crumble first.
Yeah, I'll try and hold strong. I think I've hovered
Rob
over the
was
World
gone,
Cup.
Isn't he?
Sorry?
Did Rob go last week?
He did, yes. I'll be talking to Rob. We're going to try and do 2 podcasts this week, so I'll be trying to talk to Rob in a couple of days, just to review that wild card madness.
I think he's lost it. He normally keeps his cool, but I think he's played his wild card already. And to get players that you had in, he was above you, and now the differentials have put you top.
Well, your words, not mine, Mark. But we'll certainly be. It'll be a conversational point, I'm sure, in a couple of days. So that's a little word on our squads. In terms of my captain pick, I already know I'm going to go with Aguero. It's part of my Aguero, Salah, home game alternate fixture plan. So he unless he picks up an injury or something midweek or whatever, he's definitely going to be. I think that there's no other choice. Newcastle at home. I think he's nailed on for the captain's pick.
I'm at the moment looking at my team. It says Aguero vice captain, Salah captain.
Oof.
I just know Leicester let goals in, and I think they might try and go at Liverpool and give them the space the Brighton didn't. Whereas, Benitez is going to just sit in there and they gave City some trouble last year. If I remember the one game, it was quite tight. I think it was just 1-0 when City were like flying and smashing everyone. So yeah. But then if Lachelle is still out, that's a big blow for Newcastle. So I'll probably leave it until the last minute to make that decision. Because that's the late game on Saturday, Man City Newcastle, the 5:30 kickoff.
Yeah. Liverpool's the early game.
Yeah, so I'll leave it quite late, and hopefully he'll get the nod on the Friday, and then I can make a decision. The differentials, Geoff. Indeed. This could be the weekend where is there a bigger gap, or I'll close you down.
There could be a huge difference, yeah. But I mean, I think now both score. In truth, it's just who can pick up those extra sort of. Maybe an assist, or obviously Salah gets a point extra for his goal being a midfielder. But I think it's a pretty tight decision. But I think definitely either of those would be fine. I think. Right, I think we'll wrap up the show there. As I said earlier, we'll be trying to do a second pod this week with Rob, where we'll look at Gameweek 4 fixtures and have a little look again at some more transfers and nail down those captain's picks, I should say. So Mark, thanks for being on the show. And
my pleasure.
Where can people find you on the web?
On Instagram is where you generally find me, and that's Marc P Downey with a couple of underscrolls either side of the P.
Excellent. Okay, we'll look out for that. Okay, so and you can find me tweeting FPL Gold on the podcast Twitter account at Captain's Pick Pod. Feel free to send in any questions or topics you'd like discussed on the show, and we'll get straight on top of those. Thanks again, Mark, for being on the show, and look forward to having you on again soon, maybe if we can get a few more of the champs on at the same time.
Exactly, yeah. Good night, God bless, Jeffrey.
Cheers, Mark. Okay, so from Mark and from me, good luck with Game Week 4, and until next time, it's been our pleasure to talk with you.
Captain's Pick, the FPL Podcast.
Ain't no holla best girl. Ain't no holla best girl.